What is it like to punch a man in the face? I don't think I've ever asked you that question. And welcome to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by BET99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at BET99.com. We are responsible gambling. UFC 282, December 10th from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. What better way to chop it all up and talk about it than welcoming in UFC Hall of Famer Georges St-Pierre. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Let's start off before we get into the breakdown of the fights. I mean, do you miss it when we're talking about fights? You obviously still are in phenomenal shape. I've seen your TikTok videos. Everybody's saying you're shredded, you're ripped. For your age, people are just blown away by what you look like. Do you miss the fight game?
Not at all. I don't miss it at all. I like to train. I like to, the confidence that it gives me, the fitness level, but I do not miss competing at all. I never actually liked it. I use that to propel myself where I wanted to be in life, and I really enjoy my life now.
So when you see guys like Anderson Silva, you think to yourself what? You think good for him, but not for me?
Yeah, absolutely. If he wants to fight, that's his thing. But I'm good where I'm at. It's not because I couldn't do it if I wanted to. It's just that my heart is not there anymore.
So I'm sure you get calls though, right? People do call to ask.
Yes, a lot of people. Sometimes I go to shows and they're like, "Hey, do you feel the butterfly?" I'm like, "Not at all." I really enjoy watching fight though. I really enjoy. I love the sport, but the competition itself is so stressful. I'm glad that I'm done with this part of my life.
Stressful in what way?
But stressful in a way that you don't know if you will be badly hurt, humiliated, or winning. So it's for me, it's unbearable. It's very hard.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Like, what is it like to punch a man in the face? I don't think I've ever asked you that question. And you and I have talked before.
What is it like to what?
To punch somebody in the face.
Well, very often what happens is you fight someone, then there's a lot of trash talk and stuff. But when I look across the octagon from me, I kind of see myself in the mirror. Even if I'm fighting a guy that sometimes trash talk me, I know that he has been through a lot of similar obstacle like me. So I feel like if I disrespect him, I kind of disrespect me in a way, disrespect myself. So for me, after a fight, when I win, I feel very happy. But when I turn around and I see my opponent that is still on the ground, and when he realized that he just lost a fight, lost a great opportunity, perhaps a lot of money, very often, it makes me feel bad. So I don't like that feeling. It's a mix of good and bad, and I do not enjoy that.
That's interesting you say that, because I've interviewed probably over 100 at least UFC fighters over my time covering the sport, and you probably are one of the only ones that's actually said that. I'm not sure. I think that's pretty unique in the game that people feel that way.
Well, I through my career, very often I felt like I was not in the right field of work. So I've met many sport psychologists, and they were, before a fight, I was terrified. I was afraid, and they were always telling me like, "Oh, George, stop using the word fear, the word afraid. You're not afraid. You're excited." And I'm like, this does not. I know my English is not very good. It's not my first language, but this doesn't seem right to me. When you say excited, I'm excited if it's minus 20 degrees in Montreal and I'm about to go to in vacation the following week, and I know I will be spending time at the beach. I'm excited. I'm excited if I have fast for 3 days and I'm about to eat my favorite dish. I'm excited, but I'm surely not excited to go compete in the octagon, not knowing if I will be badly hurt or humiliated or winning the title. I'm afraid, and then I realized that I should not be afraid to admit that I'm afraid. And when that happened, I became much stronger mentally.
When you see the game now, has it changed since you were doing it?
But it changed. Everything changed as always. Everything is in movement. Performances tend to get better over time. I believe the guys are better than they were before, and also it changed. The format of fighting changed. When I used to compete, I used to have piece of the pie. I had the right to negotiate my pay-per-view buys. I was kind of a partner. Nowadays, I think they don't. The fighters don't have that opportunity, unfortunately.
Well, let's talk about some of the fighters that are going to be on the main card. UFC 282, of course, December 10th from the T-Mobile Arena. We'll start off with the featherweight bout between two undefeated fighters, Bryce Mitchell and Ilia Topuria. You look at these two fighters, they're undefeated. It's a deep division, the featherweight division. You've got one guy, Topuria, who can grapple quite well. He's also quite the capable striker. You've got Mitchell, who's got a background in BJJ and wrestling. This is going to be a very interesting fight. If I were to highlight fight of the night, this might be the one to look at. Yeah,
it's true. These guys are, if you look at the history of both of these guys, they're a very excited fighter to watch. And we're up for a very good fight in this one.
What do you think about that division? It runs pretty deep.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent. And there's so much things happening in the same time in this division. But maybe the winner of this fight will have a chance to have perhaps an opportunity to, in the near future, to go for a title fight.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the aim there. When we go down the card a little further, you've got Darren Till against Dricus du Plessis. No secret, times have been really tough for Darren Till. He's had a really rough go. He thought that move to middleweight might revive his career. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Lost 2 of 3 at 185 pounds. Du Plessis, meanwhile, he is erupted onto the scene. This kid, he's aggressive. He's forceful inside the cage, inside the octagon. His style seems to be a threat in every single fight. How do you see this one going?
Well, Darren Till, I remember when he first came on the scene, had set the bar very high because everybody had very high expectation about him. And I don't know what happened to him down the line. Maybe he put too much pressure on himself and things didn't go very well for him, unfortunately. But I believe that he is a very, very talented fighter. And if he finds a way to fight to the best of his ability, he can be a very serious contender for the title.
We've got some famous names in the other fight, before we get to the main event. Robbie Lawler facing Santiago Ponzinibbio, who is going to compete after all. He is a veteran, obviously, of the sport. He got a replacement. He was the replacement opponent. He got a replacement opponent named after the same day his original booking against Robbie Lawler had fallen through due to injury. It's not going to be Robbie Lawler. It's going to be Alex Morono. It's going to be a catchweight fight at 180 pounds. So you've got Morono against Santiago.
Now, of course, some guys are always in shape, but being in fight shape is a little bit different. It's like a sprinter. A lot of the elite sprinter runs very fast, but they can go underneath the 10-second bar maybe 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times during the year. They need to peak to obtain that level of performance. And it's the same thing in combat sport. When you're not at your peak all year long because you'll get hurt. So you can be in good shape, but when you fight, if you know only at the last minute, it's a disadvantage. And also on the other side, if you get ready to fight someone like Robbie Lawler, for instance, who has a very unique style, and then you switch opponent, and it's a different style, that could be tough too, because you prepare for a certain particular style, but then you switch gears. It could be something very hard to do. So you need to have the capacity to adapt yourself if you want to perform well.
Did that ever happen to you in your career where they had to switch out opponents last minute and you were taking on somebody you might not have known about?
It happened a lot in competition when I was an amateur. It's the same thing like when you're an amateur and you're part of a tournament, you don't know who you're gonna fight next. So the same day. So it happened to me many times through all my career and when I used to compete in karate and jiu-jitsu, and so you need to be ready for it. You know what I mean?
Paddy Pimblett, who has obviously made a name for himself, he's been asking to be featured on a UFC numbered event main card. He's finally got his way. Paddy the Batty will feature against Jaron Gordon. Jaron Gordon, a very busy fighter. This is his 3rd fight of the year coming up on Saturday night. He's a pretty veteran flyweight coming off a unanimous decision. That was a win over Leonardo Santos on UFC 278, 4th victory in 5 outings. Paddy's going up against a pretty hot hand here, but Paddy in his own right, he's finished off opponents in each of his victories, including the first round wins over a number of fighters. And I think what people are remarking the most on is the speed in which he's finishing fighters.
Yeah, Paddy is like a superstar now, and he's got a lot of charisma. So I'm very excited for this fight. But he's fighting Gordon like the guy he's fighting is very, very hard. I know guys that train with him, and they told me that this guy is no joke. So Paddy might be the favor in this fight, but it's he cannot sleep on this one, because if he has a bad day at the office, it's gonna be a bad day for him. So it's very important that he comes to the best of his ability, and we'll see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, let's talk about the idea of finding out you're on a numbered card for the first time. I mean, that's got to be a big moment for you, where you're on a co-main event, let's say, but it's also got to be nerve-wracking, no?
Absolutely. You need to learn how to deal with the pressure. Sometimes some fighters, the pressure crumble them. They make them underperform. So some of them, it will help them rise to the occasion. So it's mental. At this point, it's not physical. It has to be mental. You need to find a way to motivate yourself and find a way that you turn that nervosity, that stress, into positivity.
Let's talk about the main event. Who do you like in this one? Blachowicz against Ankalaev. It's going to be a hell of a fight, and probably one of the fights of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ankalaev is on a tear right now. If you look at his past performance, it's just incredible. But he's a kind of fighter that likes to take time to study his opponent, to download his data, so to speak. You know what I mean? So if in that fight, it all depends how it will start. Blachowicz need to go right away. The more he waits, I believe, I'm under the impression he's going to turn into Ankalaev advantage. So Ankalaev need to make the fight to start at a slow pace, with the feeling out process. Then he's going to be very good, because he's very good at adapting it himself to become the perfect nemesis to his opponent. On the other side, Blachowicz has a lot of power, but he needs to be able to. He might not have the speed to do it, but he has a lot of power, so you need to use that power to surprise his opponent. And if you say surprise his opponent, you need to get down to business right in the beginning of the fight. Not try to have the filling off process and get down to business right away.
How do you figure that out, that you have to get down to business right away, and that you have to maybe not go through the feeling out or that sort of dance at the beginning?
Well, if you look a lot of the fight, like Blachowicz, if you look when he fought Luke Rockhold, for example, that one punch can change everything. You know what I mean? So he had that ability to turn the lights off of his opponent. You know what I mean? And then Ankalaev is very good at, the longer the fight is, the best he become, because it's the harder it is for his opponent to surprise him, because he anticipate your movement. So if you try to go hard right off the bat, that's the best chance I believe Blachowicz has against Ankalaev.
In the 1 minute we've got remaining here, is there somebody that stands out to you, maybe not on this card, that you've got your eye on in the UFC right now, that you watch and go, either that guy's a lot like me, or that's somebody you need to watch out for?
Well, there's a lot of guys that I like to watch. I enjoy watching fight. Ankalaev is one of them. And Ankalaev is mostly known for his kickboxing, but don't forget that he's a very good wrestler as well. We don't see him wrestle very often, but he's a very good wrestler. So who knows? Maybe he's going to try to use his wrestling and put his opponent down. That would be very interesting. And also, Pimblett is very good too. Yeah, he's a very charismatic character. I really enjoy watching him fight.
He's got the charisma of GSP, let's say, or at least he's trying to get there at some point. George, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Always great to see you, my friend. You've been watching Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling.